I switched jobs like so many other Americans during the Great Resignation. I moved from the media industry into the tech industry, and I'll have to make a video about how exactly I did that. But even though I made this really big change in my life, I feel like I'm in this really big transitional moment. And I wanted to kind of understand and figure out for myself where exactly I was going. What was the plan? While researching online, I came across something that was pretty interesting. Apparently at Stanford, there's a class called Designing Your Life. It's by this creator and author and professor named Bill Burnett. When I was initially looking through the course, I saw that it was like $300, and I definitely had a moment of hesitation. So like any good former journalist, I was like, let's do a little bit more research. So I found some videos that Bill Burnett did. He has this playlist, and I can link it in the description below so you could check it out. But what really struck me was basically the premise of something called Odyssey years. The term Odyssey years refers to the years between like 25 to 35. And it was penned or created by David Brooks, who's this New York Times social commenter. He's awesome. I read a ton of his books. And he basically used this phrase, and he called it Odyssey years because it's like Homer's Odyssey. It's this great period of journey that people go through. And the idea essentially is that between your mid-20s to your mid-30s, you're discovering yourself. And this is kind of a really formative time where you're understanding what your values are, who you are, what you think will lead you to like a purposeful life. And those are some of the most critical times of self-discovery. During the 60s and 70s, sociologists said that we had 4 life stages. It was childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and retirement. And that was essentially the end of a life. But now there is this reframing of how we live our lives. And a lot of that's because we're living longer. And so instead of 4 stages, we have 6 stages. So you still have childhood, adolescence, and Odyssey years come right after. And that's that period I was mentioning between being 25 to 35. Then comes adulthood, then encore years. And that's when sometimes people, before they retire, they'll do like a secondary or third or fourth career change where they're doing stuff that's more purpose driven. And after they do that, they go into retirement. One of the reasons our life stages have changed is essentially because we are living longer. 100 years ago, at the start of the early 1900s, the average lifespan was 35 years old. Today's modern time, the average lifespan is 75. So we've essentially gained a second life. So it's not unusual to have multiple careers and multiple interests and go through different stages of life. I think that's really cool because as someone like me, I went through 10 years of climbing the corporate ladder of the media industry. I went from intern to journalist to a middle manager to a high-level director. And during the Great Resignation, I felt like I had learned a lot of what I wanted to know and do in the media industry. And I had this urge that I needed to try something different. And so I could have just kept being a director. I was essentially told by my executive boss that I needed to just sit tight for 10 years and then I would eventually become vice president or some executive leadership role if I just stayed long enough at the company. But I just felt like that was a lot of time, 10 years, for me to wait where I could be learning and trying something new. And it was super scary, honestly, transitioning from the media industry to the tech industry. But I think that was the start of me entering part of my Odyssey years. And I wanted to just do something riskier and more interesting. I just wanted to see if I could do it. And now that I'm here and I've transitioned to a new industry, there are other things I want to be thinking about in my life. So for example, I want to feel passionate about the things I do outside of work. That's actually one of the reasons I made this YouTube channel. And I want to kind of design my life and figure out, what do I do with the second half of my life, right? Because I'm obviously, like, I'm still young, at least I still feel young, and I want to try to do something new and different. So after learning about the Odyssey years, I was thinking to myself, all right, like, this makes me feel better. Like, this is normal for me to be thinking to myself, hey, let's try something new. So now I'm in this process where essentially what the course, the Design Your Life course, teaches you is how to make 3 different plans of the 3 different types of life that you want to try living, that you're planning for. And one of the reasons I really want to do this is because I want to plan for something. Bill Burnett, he said, if you plan for nothing, you get nothing. It's essentially saying, like, if you don't make a plan, you're not going to really do anything, right? Like, and I want to make sure that I'm just living a meaningful life. If you're in a transitional moment of your life, then let me know how you're handling it. What are some tips and tricks and thoughts that you've come across, challenges? I want to know. Just comment below in this video. And if you want to see how I'm designing my life, I'm going to make a bunch of videos on it. Hit that like and subscribe button. It means a lot, and I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this.